Good evening.
Good evening, Father.
As I explained at the 8 a.m. service this morning, I'm so used to saying one Mass at Bridget's at 9 on Saturday. What we did today is we're going to film the Mass on Wednesday morning at St. Bridget Parish and just film the actual dialogue, the discussion, or teaching, whatever we call it, here, so that those who want to watch the Mass have the freedom to watch it in the morning, and then those who would like to watch this teaching as an extra could do that at their own leisure. Okay? Well, we're continuing our study of An Exorcist Explains the Demonic, and we read chapter 3, which was a little long. It went from up to page 61 up to page 61 from page 29, it looks like. Okay. What did you learn from it? Or is there anything that struck you right off the bat?
The actual existence of witches, wizards, and
Yes.
Yeah.
The actual existence of witches and wizards, which honestly, I don't think I ever really thought about. When it came to witches and wizards, honestly, the only thing I ever considered was Harry Potter.
The Wicked Witch of the West.
Okay, the Wicked Witch of the West, I hadn't thought of that one. But I mean, my age group, we're more akin to the Harry Potter era. And you know, that's the big thing nowadays, or it was until, I guess, recently. Now they're coming back with another movie, so. But I never really considered that as being a truly an invitation to the demonic activity being a full-blown witch or wizard.
or the spells can actually be cast.
Yes.
Yes, I read in his other books about there is a reality of the casting of a spell. Mm-hmm.
And can be time delayed.
Right.
Yes, and can be time delayed or an event delayed. Yes.
As the example given was baptism, it could be activated upon baptism.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was outrageous, but I guess it happened.
Yes. Again, as we caution with all things, not to scare people. All of these, a person can put 50 curses on another one. Does God allow that individual to experience the effects of a curse? And that's the real issue. Because if a person's living in a state of grace, all of this is all dependent upon God allowances. Let's say tonight, as an example, let's say I was living a very holy, saintly life. I am the embodiment of St. John Vianney rolled up with St. Padre Pio. Okay, I'm on that level. And all of you have decided that you're going to the local voodoo doctor and you're going to have a curse placed against me. Get him out the parish. We want someone who's more energetic and more fun. Okay? I may not ever experience the effects of that curse because it depends, one, on my own prayer life, and two, does God even allow it? Remember, God allows evil. That's the reality. He gives us good, he allows evil. That's why we have free choice. So does God allow that effect to take place? That's going to be God's call.
I think we have to differentiate at this point magic and sleight of hand. Okay, there is a difference. The guy that's doing card tricks or pulling a rabbit out of a hat, that's all staged. That's not true magic. We have to differentiate that magic really exists. The other thing in what you're talking about, if a curse is placed, there has to be a degree of consent on the person that was cursed. If it scares you, if you step into it, then things can happen. There has to be some consent on the part of the person.
First off, I don't follow your second point, but I agree. Sleight of hand and magic are two different things. But I have no idea what you just said on the second. It sounded to me like you were saying that the only way a curse will work is if you curse me, I have to accept and agree that curse is allowed to have it affect me. That's what it sounded like you just proposed.
It's like any sin. There has to be a consent of the will. If you are, what you said, if you are close to God, if you are living in righteousness and following the precepts of the church and God's teachings, then you're not consenting to that curse, to that happening. There has to be a consent of the will, I think.
I would disagree, because how do you know you're cursed to consent to that?
Some people don't know.
That's the truth.
Some people don't know that they have been cursed.
Yes.
It's done in secret.
Yes. Most curses are done by individuals in secret. They're not going to go out and say, hey, I just cursed you. Do you consent to the effects of the curse? That's where I'm disagreeing with you. Yes, sir, Frank. Yep.
In voodoo, they do let them know. They give them a doll or some sign that they...
Okay. All righty.
If you, and of course, they've debunked a lot of that voodoo stuff.
Yes, sir. But as he kept saying, there are charlatans in all these things, but there are people that are really real, who do practice this, who have made themselves open vessels to where the devils can use them to place curses on someone. But I think your consent statement would be better said. Now, I could be wrong. Y'all, hold it, let me just ask. How did y'all understand Charlie's consent statement?
Yeah, like you did. Bro.
Like you did. I disagree.
Okay.
Because he stated in there that you may not even know that you're
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's the way I took it, Charlie, too. It does not depend, the effects of the curse is not dependent upon the victim who the curse was placed upon, their consent.
You just turned around a statement you said earlier. If that person is in full communion with God,
Yes.
then God will not allow the curse to happen.
No, I never said that. Never said God will not allow. God allows it. He's allowed saints to become possessed. It's all dependent upon, does God allow it? Now, the effects can be mitigated due to the state of grace that a person's life is in. A person who's living a very holy life may not experience Satan to the degree that a person who is not living a holy life. But we can look at the lives of the saints and see St. John Vianney, St. Padre Pio. Two, right off the bat, where I joked and said I'm the embodiment of, because both saints, both priests at different times suffered persecution from the devil. God allowed these two saintly men to experience the diabolical effects, not of curses, but of the devil. And how did these two handle it? Once John Vianney, according to his biography, once he realized, who it was that was attacking him per se, then he would tell people, because at first they thought it was people coming from the outside, so they stationed guards. But once they realized, oh no, it's the devil, or he realized it's the devil, it's not humans, he told them, go home, don't worry about it. Funny story. But, well, I've told you the chicken in the coop story. But his own brother priest considered him, crazy, or touched in the head because, the statements that the devil was attacking him, until he went to a priest fraternal gathering, stayed a night, and that night everybody was awoken to the whole house shaking and the effects of the devil. So all of a sudden it made mass believers out of it. So the effect can be mitigated, limited, by the degree that the victim is living a saintly life, but God is the one who allows evil to take place. And God can allow evil to affect a saint as well as a sinner. And it has nothing to do with consent.
That was like in the book of Job when God told the devil he could do anything he wanted, but don't harm Job.
Yeah, don't.
You can't
you're right.
mess with
You
him.
can't kill him.
Right.
Yeah. So he affects
family,
Job,
yeah.
his family, his livestock, everything, but he does not curse God. Right? Do you understand where we're coming from, Charlie?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. What else? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you have a believer, or excuse me, a heavy sinner or a saint. Either way, they can deal with the aftermath of all of this. The thought is for God to challenge you to bring yourself closer to Him, correct? Well, say God allows this to happen.
God allows evil to take
Right.
place.
And then if evil does come, then
Yes,
you
ma'am.
ask God to have it removed, and you become closer to Him and seeking guidance to Him, correct?
Brittany, I really don't know. Okay, here's the reason I would look at it. You said you ask God to remove the evil, therefore you come closer to Him.
Right.
I would say sometimes we become closer to God by suffering through the effects of evil and not praying, Lord, remove it, but Lord, help me to endure it and endure it with a gracious spirit. There's a I don't know if you've watched those movies, Bruce Almighty, Evan Almighty. Okay. The movies, I think, are terrible. But there's one line that redeems the second movie. One line of the whole movie that I remember. And that was where someone is speaking, and I don't even remember, I just remember the line. He said, when you pray for patience, God doesn't just give you patience. He gives you opportunities to be patient. And I thought, that actually, a blind hog finds an acorn. That was a beautiful statement in the midst of a movie that had no idea. But it is true. So sometimes it's how we deal with the evil in our life that is affecting us. It's how it's the person you go to customer service and they're rude to you. You have a choice. Do I smile and still be gracious and respectful? Or do I escalate that? Now, which one is the more godlike in its action? So those are the ways that we can take abuse, process it through the sufferings of Christ, and allow it to transform us and mold us. Sometimes, you bring up a good point. I forget the name of the book, but I was reading a book. I think it's A Sinner's Return to God. It's Tan Publishing. I think that was the one. But I think it was there. But somewhere, I remember the author asked the question, and I'll pose it this way. If I were to get the dreaded disease, cancer, and because of that, I realize I'm going to die, I turn my life to God. I start living the life I should have been living prior. Now, God miraculously intervenes, and I am healed of the cancer. There is no scientific explanation for why I'm healed. It just happens, and the scientists say, it's a miracle, we can't explain it. I have a choice then. I can continue down that path that cancer has started me on to becoming a more devout, holy person, living the life I should have been living prior to getting cancer. Let's say I've lived a not so stellar life. I'm not bad, but I'm not good. I'm more lukewarm as a Christian. Or do I use this opportunity, well, now that I'm healed, and I fall back into my life being lukewarm again, and in fact, I end up becoming worse because I've already experienced this great healing. That's always a potential there. So sometimes it's the way we go through it that really allows us, we become holy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Now, we were discussing before Holy Hour. The author speaks of satanic rock music, which I honestly, that was my point of the discussion prior, was I don't know what is satanic rock music. Because I've heard so many preachers, not priests, but preachers come in there and tell me about this rock was Satan, this rock was Satan. If you play this song backwards, it's Satan. I couldn't distinguish satanic rock if it was standing in front of me looking at me, because I've heard so much. Now, I tried to look at his 3 principles that he offers, but I don't think, like, I can look at a band and say, well, Kiss, okay? Back in the 70s, my mother, when I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, my mother and another lady took a group of us boys, we were all fans of Kiss. We went to the Kiss concert. Now, some preachers would say Kiss stands for Kids in Satan's Service.
Oh, I heard it was Knights in Satan's
Or
Service.
Knights in Satan's Service. We're just kids at that time. But I mean, my gosh.
I'm
look at
older
me.
than you, though.
I heard kids.
Yeah, you've heard kids also. Thank you. Now, so it's okay. They could be both. That's not what I want to focus in on. What I want to focus in on is, if I've heard TV ministers and other preachers say, oh, Kiss, it's a Satan group, satanic rock. But yet at the same time, Kiss has very slow ballads. So which is it? Is it one or the other? That's why I find it's very difficult for me to look at a band and say, oh, this band, Charlie brought up Alice Cooper and the way he performed his music. I only know him of the one song, School's Out for Summer, that everybody plays at the end of school. And I never considered that Satan music. So again, can y'all make heads or tails of it? How did y'all understand that?
Black Sabbath. That was a group and they were bad.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne was the lead singer for them.
I know Black Sabbath,
Yeah, some of their stuff is bad.
but yet some of their stuff wasn't bad.
No, but some of it was.
But again, where do you, see, that's the point.
I
Where
know
do you draw the line?
I know, it's really,
And Charlie brought up a good thing. You know, was it Charlie or was it Henry or John? We were all talking in Linda before Mass. I don't remember if George was here or not. But Elvis Presley, you remember when he came out?
oh, he was.
That was Satan music.
Yeah.
But, and the other one said, well, using the qualities he lists, and what are the 3 qualities? Do you remember?
Sense of cheer, self-possession, unlimited liberty.
Okay, please say that out loud, real loud, please.
A sense of cheer,
Sense of cheer?
yes, CHEER,
Okay.
self-possession,
Mm-hmm.
and unlimited liberty from parents, teachers, and educators.
Okay. So, one, it touches in to your it touches into the person's emotions. It really hits that emotional thing. It tells them, hey, I'm my own person, I can do what I want, and I rebels against authority. And a lot of it touching into the emotions, sex, drugs, rock and roll, those things. I hate to say it, but someone brought it up and they said, well, under those guys, under those criteria, look at rap music. It's, my gosh, rap music, it's worse. The lyrics themselves and the gyrations of the singers.
And then you add the cursing, which is the next part, into it.
Yes, the cursing is just, and it's not I curse God or, you know, it's just the amount of filthy language that they use.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is murder lyrics too.
Sex, murder, you know, how the degradation of individuals, women, the police. Okay, you have that. But we would never, whenever they talk about satanic rock, you never hear people say, oh, it's Satan rap. But actually, if you look at it under the guise, Satan rap is much more present now in society than satanic rock.
They consider rap music. I don't know how they can do that, but they do.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you
I
said.
said in some settings they consider rap to be music. I don't know how that can be categorized as music, but they do.
Okay, but we're looking at the lyrics. You think about it, and you could say vis-a-vis lyrics. If you put the lyrics, and this is what I would challenge people to do. Take the lyrics for Hotel California by the Eagles. Put that on a sheet of paper. Then take the lyrics of the NWO. It's a rap.
It's a rap
band.
group.
It was a rap group. You take their lyrics for a particular song, and you put them side by side. Which one do you think would qualify it more?
NWO.
Again, I'm not going to make a judgment
No,
here,
I understand.
but I'm saying if you have to look at lyrics.
Have no idea.
So,
But Hotel California ain't that great either. It's
but
got
I
some
said
rough
this is
spots.
where I am confused. This is my confusion. I understand music can touch a person and move a person. If we say that music affects a person to where they want to do something, look at Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. I mean, that's a very moving piece
Yes,
for
it is.
classical music. It stirs a person. And then, I threw out, nowadays in Christian music, you've got Christian rock. The music, the actual beats, the melodies, the sounds, that's the same as any of the 70s rock. The only difference is the lyrics. So what are we listening to? Most people, I find, like myself, and John mentioned it, we're getting hard of hearing. We can hear the beat, but we don't hear the lyrics. We're talking about Big John, not Little John in the back there.
Well, I agree with him, I can't hear him either.
Yeah, Little John can't hear either. That's true. So you look at it, that's where I think we have to be clear. When it comes to this music, you have to look at lyrics.
Well, music is the whole concept. You have notes on a page, and you have the lyrics that go with those notes on the page, and that's what makes up music. Music is not just the notes on the page, in all cases.
I
The lyrics are part of the music.
Again, you're losing me tonight.
The lyrics are part of the music.
Yes, we're talking about that. We say you have to separate the two.
Okay.
But I mean, if you think about it, satanic rock could be any genre, any song, and some artists could have satanic rock in their album. Having
Yes.
said that, it would be the same concept as a curse. Depending on your person, if they are open to listening to those and having that brought on, and God chooses to have them more touched to those lyrics, then that's that person.
That's
Not
right.
two people
You're
are
bringing
gonna
up a very good point.
intercept the same lyrics the same way.
Yes. The same arguments that people use against violent video games can be used against this statement of satanic rock. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying you can't all lump it into one category. Because people say, all bad, these little Xbox and PlayStation, all those first-person shooter games lead people to want to go out and murder cops or murder other individuals. Well, the very first one was the Nintendo Duck Hunt, which had the little gun and you shot the little ducks. Did that lead people? Did they go out and say, well, I was playing Duck Hunt and therefore I want to go out and shoot someone? I've never heard of that being the Nintendo Duck Hunt case. Never heard that. So I don't think we can lump, and you bring up a good point. You can look at a musician, you can look at their album, and they may have a song that seems more in line with the qualifications of satanic rock, but they might have other songs on the same album that have no correlation. So it's going to be dependent upon what you listen to, your genre, was that a good word? Okay, and the lyrics. Yes.
I'm not sure that there's anyone in this room that would really even identify satanic rock.
Yeah.
I think about somebody brought up Kiss.
Yes.
Gene Simmons is a businessman.
Yes.
Gene Simmons for the last 45 years has done what was going to bring the money into his hand.
Yes.
Black Sabbath, same thing. Ozzy Osbourne he's an entertainer.
Yes.
And I think that the crux of this true satanic rock is not about that, And I really wonder if it's something that only people who are into that would even identify.
You're probably the most accurate here. Probably the only people who could accurately identify satanic rock are Satanists themselves, because we wouldn't know what to look for. It's like when he brought up tattooing and piercing. who makes the judgment call? I mean, my gosh,
I know, and I thought that when I read it.
you've got pierced ears.
You know, my sister's got the rosary tattooed on her ankle, a cross, and an angel.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna get a tattoo, because, I'm sorry, I'm a chicken, I don't wanna get hurt.
Well, it's not. I mean, you could have, like you say, you can have a woman with a cross and a man with a unicorn. You know, it's,
Yeah, I know that.
you never know. It's, you can have piercings. He's saying all these things, and honestly, I sit back and as I'm reading, I'm thinking, my God, what has Italy become? Because I can't tell. I see people almost daily who have some type of piercing. And my gosh, nowadays, I feel like I'm in a minority because I don't have a tattoo.
I'm saying that.
But what is the intention? That's the part that I'm not finding. What is the intention of why you got said tattoo?
Body art.
Body
It's
art.
considered artistic.
Some consider it artistic, others say it's you're mutilating your body. Again, what is the person's intention? That's where I think it's hard to look at. Because if you have a priest who has a tattoo and a priest who doesn't have a tattoo, can you justify and say, well, one priest is going to be holier than the other because he doesn't have a tattoo? And the same thing is the priest who has the tattoo. It's maybe because he went through those things while wearing the tattoo, or which got him the tattoo, that has changed his life for the better, which has caused him to become a holier priest, and the priest who hasn't suffered and never got the tattoo. I'm thinking like a prison tattoo.
After Chelsea died, several of her friends, her sisters, all
People in
got,
this church.
people at this church got butterfly tattoos in her memory. Do they mourn her in a different way that I mourn her? No. I mean, it's just something they did in memory of her. But they're not, I mean, that was something that they did, that was their choice.
Okay, I mean, and that's where I find it I think because all of us, maybe we're not Italian, and that may be the crux of it, is because we live in the South of the United States of America. Our whole lives we've heard the preachers out there tell us all these things are Satan, to the point where I don't think any of us could pick out. The only way I think we can honestly tell a Satan is if a person showed up in the complete garb. Because, my gosh, I heard, preachers tell people, if you get a tattoo, and you got to say it in this type of dialect, if you get a tattoo, then they inject a microchip for 666 in that. And they'll scan it. When they do in the book of Revelation, they're going to scan you, and you're perdition of the devil. And I sit there and go, wait. What? So, being around that type of mentality, where they look at everything and say it's of the devil, I think it's probably the greatest trick the devil has managed to play, because he's hiding in plain sight. We can't pick it out.
He did kind of explain the different tattoos.
Yes.
What could be satanic and what not.
Yeah.
I mean, in his defense.
Yeah, in his defense, he says,
Yeah.
this could be
So,
satanic,